So here we have this VEVOR portable diesel transfer tank. Now, full disclosure, this was sent to me for free, but the opinions in this video are my own. They have a few different options for color and size, but this is the 48-gallon orange tank. It comes with an instruction manual, a fueling gun, looks pretty similar to one you'd find at a gas station. It has a lockable trigger, and it also has the auto shut-off feature. Now let's put it together. We gotta screw this little swivel adapter on it and then connect it to the hose. Then we can screw that hose onto the tank. It doesn't come with any tape or sealants for the threads. They just use rubber gaskets, so we'll see how well they hold up when we go test it out. And there we go, it's all put together, it's ready to use. It has this vent cap you can unscrew, then the main filling port, nice big hole, rubber seal on the cap. Then it has this fuel gauge, but as you'll see later, it's not quite accurate. It also is a 12 volt, 140 watt pump with a flow rate of almost 11 gallons per minute. Simple on-off switch. Next to that is the fuel filter, and then where the hose connects. This whole assembly is a little bit wobbly. You can see it's only connected with these two screws here. Anyway, to power this, you're gonna use these two jumper cables. They're on a 13-foot cord. Then of course it has a nice thick rubber hose. It's also 13-foot long. You can wrap it up on top of the tank. Then the fuel gun has a nice little holder. Then you can close this lid on top of it, and it also came with a lock to lock it shut. Of course it doesn't really provide any security, but it does hold the lid shut. Anyway, it's a pretty sturdy tank. I like how it's light enough that one person can pretty easily pick it up if it's empty, but if it's full, there are grooves on the bottom, so you can easily pick it up with a forklift. Anyway, I'm gonna go fill this up with diesel and then we'll test it out. Alright, so I filled this thing up with about 43 gallons of diesel, and then I drove around for a bit, and you can see it did leak a little bit. I looked at all the connections and they were all dry, except for the bracket that mounts the fuel pump assembly. So I'm pretty sure it's leaking out of these two screws. Definitely not ideal, but it could be an easy fix if you use the right kind of sealant. Also, here's what the fuel gauge reads. It has 43 gallons, so it should be a lot closer to full. Anyway, I hooked it up to my truck and I had to use a second pair of jumper cables. It turns on just fine, no problems here. So let's unscrew this cap and try it out. It pumps fuel just fine, then you can see the auto shutoff works as well. And now I'm gonna go ahead and empty the tank out. After a few minutes, the fuel gauge read is empty, but there's still at least 4 inches of fuel left in there. Anyway, I took a look around the tank. There were no leaks on the outside. The hose connection was dry, the filter was dry. These two connections were dry as well, and same thing where the hose connects to the filler gun. So I waited for it to suck out as much as it could, and then I shut it off. I looked inside the tank and it still wasn't quite empty, so I tilted the tank back and tried to get out as much as I could. And of course, because of those ridges for the forks, I wasn't able to get it completely empty. Also, I didn't do the best job of showing this on camera, but the hose goes all the way to the bottom of the tank, and it also has a filter on the end. So yeah, it does have a couple problems, like the inaccurate fuel gauge, and the not so ideal mounting bracket with 2 leaky screws. But apart from that, this thing functions as it should, seems to work pretty well, and overall seems like a pretty decent, fully set up fuel transfer tank.